Welcome back to the Grind, Sleep, Repeat podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about what we would have done differently if we were to restart our fitness journey.
Yeah, we both have been in the gym and been trainers for almost a decade now, helping people reach their goals of building muscle, losing body fat, and creating programs for people. And then also, we've been in the gym since we were, 12, 13, 14 years old. So we've made a lot of mistakes along the way. And today we just want to put that out there of like, if we were to start over, these are the most important things of what I would focus on. This is what really moves the needle of reaching your fitness goals. These are the most important tips, and just coming from a place of helping you understand, you know, cut out all the fluff. There's lots of information out there. There's a lot of bad information out there. And we just want to go over the most important things to build muscle, to lose body fat, to reach your fitness goals, and just reach them faster so that you don't make the mistakes that we made along the way.
Yeah, my parents would always tell me things like, I don't want you to do something that, I screwed up in and like taking these tips and advice from people and like when my parents would tell me that, I'd be like, "Yeah, whatever." But now, being as we get older, we've learned from our mistakes, and I think it is important to learn from others. Yeah, so hopping into our first mistake that we made in the past would be not focusing on strength. So, I know when I first started strength training, I wasn't sure what that looked like. And I was scared as a woman. I was scared to get big and bulky and lift heavy. So naturally, I'm reaching for the 5 pound dumbbells, the 10 pound dumbbells, trying to just go for lots of volume, cranking out, 15, 20 reps, thinking, oh, it's burning, so it's working, right? And I'm sure you have similar stories with that too.
Yeah, anybody can benefit from lifting heavy. And I say heavy, it's always relative to your ability to lift with good form and make sure they're not compromising that just to lift more weight. But heavy strength training is the first thing that you can do in any program, especially as a beginner, to really build a foundation and make an enormous amount of progress. If you are constantly chasing a pump, you're doing really high rep exercises, you're doing tons of isolation volume, you're not focusing on progression and getting stronger and getting better in some way, shape, or form, every time you go into the gym, you're missing out on a huge area of opportunity. So focus on those big compound movements. You're focusing on things like deadlifts and squats and bench press and pull-ups and overhead press and lunges, heavy rows, dips, like all these movements that you're going to be able to train the most amount of muscle groups, lift the most amount of weight. And if you do that, you're going to build a really strong foundation of strength. You're going to build a lot of muscle. And no matter if your goal is to lose body fat or build muscle or whatever it is, that's going to help you down the road, not only with your general health and well-being, but you're also going to develop this base of muscle that's going to create a really healthy, high-functioning metabolism. So that's going to allow you to eat more food. It's going to allow you to lose more body fat and maintain leaner body fat percentages because you're burning more calories at rest. So strength progression is the first thing that make sure you're not making the mistake of not focusing on strength. You need to be following structure with that. And almost the mindset of what I would say is every time you come into the gym, keep detailed records of what you're doing and make it your mission on your big compound movements to try and beat what you did last time. Even if it's a rep, even if it's 5 pounds, even if it's, a half a rep, or it felt better than it did last time, than the 6 reps I did last time, just focus on that. It's going to be a game changer that is going to help you make so much progress and really build a great base as a beginner.
Yeah, and kind of back to what I was saying too with starting with those like 5 to 10 pound dumbbells. There's nothing that says that that's wrong because everybody has to start somewhere. But when we pick those same weights up every single time, that's what I'm saying. You need to reach for, instead of doing 5 pounds, reach for the 15 pounds. If you do the same weight each day, each week for months and months, you're not going to see the same effects as if you progressively overload those muscles and keep track of how much you're lifting and you start to lift heavier. And like I said too, you're going to feel in your brain, as women, we think, oh, we're going to get bulky, we're going to get big because I'm picking up these 40-pound dumbbells. But it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort to get big. You got to be eating a lot. You really got to prioritize strength and lifting super heavy. So you're not going to get big, you're not going to get bulky just by progressively overloading those muscles. You're going to get that tone look that everybody is trying to achieve.
Yeah, and muscle tone comes from having more muscle mass and being leaner, having less body fat. So there's no such thing as like muscle tone. So exactly to Alyssa's point, like if you create and build some muscle through heavy strength training, you're going to have more muscle tone. Basically, your muscles are just going to show more because you have more muscle. So strength is our number one or first tip that we want to talk about. It has to be in anybody's program. I don't care if you're 12 years old or if you're 72 years old, like you're 85 or 90. There needs to be strength in your program. You need to focus on getting better and constantly stimulating your muscles because that's the only way that they're going to grow, that you're going to get stronger, and that you're going to make progress. So kind of building off of that, the second mistake that we made, especially as beginners, was thinking that more is always better in the gym
Yeah.
and that working out 7 days a week is the fastest way to reach your goals. And, only up until the last couple of years have we started consistently taking a rest day. We spent years and years and years lifting 7 days a week, not just working out, lifting 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So, currently we work out 6 days a week. We do take a full rest day. And in my opinion, in our own program, and then also in what I see with a lot of the clients that we train, taking a dedicated rest day is almost like taking one step back so that you can take 3, 4, 5 steps forward. It doesn't set you back. It allows your body to recover because when we're coming to the gym, more fatigue, more muscle breakdown is not always better. There's a certain amount that it just becomes too much. So if you're constantly feeling fatigue, constantly breaking down your body and you're not recovering, you're not going to make progress. So we found that a more structured approach, more intense approach, and by strength training or working out 6 days a week allows us to have 6 workouts that are really good rather than we start to get fatigued and then weeks go on and then maybe only 3 or 4 of those workouts are good and the other ones are just kind of like we're there. We're not mentally, in it. We're not really pushing our bodies to see the change that we want. So less is more, especially as a beginner, and the structure really can make a world of a difference, making sure that you're following a structured plan.
Yeah, and we currently, like you said, we're doing 6 days a week, but me personally, my workout split is either 4 to 5 days of strength training, and then the other 1 or 2 days is cardio. So, it's a balance of getting in the cardio and the strength training, whereas before, when I was in here 7 days a week, I was doing all of that. I was strength training 7 days a week and implementing the cardio probably 3 times a week on top of all of those strength training sessions too. And then you're adding in the diet, so you're putting a lot of stress on your body, and granted, probably in your 20s, your body can withstand some of that, a little bit better than it can as we start to get older. But, why would you want to overload the body and put more stress on the body when it's unnecessary? It doesn't need to it doesn't need to happen. And spending hours and hours in the gym, I mean, there's times where I'd be in the gym for like 3 hours because it would take me at least an hour and a half to get through my full workout strength training session, and then you gotta implement in that cardio session and warm up for that and get through that. So, you're in the gym for like 3 hours, and it's just not realistic, and, that's definitely something that we've learned over time too, and especially as we've gotten older and we have kids and families, but most importantly is the recovery aspect of that. You're putting in all this volume, and especially if you're hitting, each muscle group twice a week, and then you're implementing in more volume because you're in the gym for 3 hours, you're doing a lot more, your body's not recovering.
Yeah. To that point, I just had one of our online clients. I did a check-in with him last week, and he just got started on a program. He's seeing good progress, and one thing that he mentioned that I want to highlight here is he said, I think I was doing too much volume, too many exercises, and I was carrying too much fatigue. And by doing the correct amount of sets, reps, progression, I'm seeing better progress and I'm carrying less fatigue. So that's exactly to that point. As you're starting off at the gym, you don't need 7 days a week to see progress.
No.
You can if you like to go to the gym every day. It needs to be structured in a way that's going to allow you to recover. So maybe it's not 7 really heavy, intense strength training sessions. But, generally I would say beginners can see awesome progress on 3, 4, maybe 5 workouts a week. That's kind of where the sweet spot is to start. as you become more advanced and you progress, you can get into more challenging variations of exercises, more volume with your workouts, more frequency. But in the beginning, that 3 to 5 is really the sweet spot. So
Okay.
make sure that you are doing a program that makes sense, that you
Mhm.
are not overtraining, that you're not under recovering. And a lot of times people say overtraining. We've done a full podcast on this. I don't think necessarily overtraining. I mean, you can reach it. You definitely can. Most people are just not recovering properly. So that's also a big point to make sure that you're recovering enough. We'll talk about some stuff that's going to help with that later in the podcast. But I would say 3 to 5 is a great place to start. You can see awesome progress as long as there's progression, as long as there's structure. You can see awesome progress on 3 to 5 days a week of working out. We are doing a 25% off Memorial Day sale this weekend. Lasts all weekend long. I'll leave the link in the description below. Go check it out. I appreciate the support for our brand. We currently have a whey protein powder, we have our greens powder, and we also have an electrolyte mix. They all taste freaking awesome. There's no added sugar, just plain simple ingredients, everything that you need and nothing that you don't. So, fitgrindformula.com. Like I said, I'll leave the link in the description below. We're doing a 25% off sale, so go save some money and check it out. And I appreciate the support.
Going into our next tip kind of correlates with the topic of cardio. So, like I said before, we were doing 7 days a week of strength training and implementing in those like 3 days a week of cardio. So, the third tip is going to be doing consistent cardio, but less cardio. Whereas, those high intensity cardio interval things were so popular, those classes, super popular. But again, you're putting more stress on the body, and there's a time and a place for those to be in your program. So, if you consistently and strategically plan those high intensity cardio sessions, there's nothing wrong with them. They're great. I think they're definitely something that you should have in your program. But if you're doing too much of that, it's first of all, you're probably not doing it right. Because if you're doing like 3 or 4 hit sessions a week, your body should be fatigued. You should be gassed if you're doing hit correctly.
Yeah.
So, that was one of my biggest mistakes was doing too much cardio and not the right amount of cardio. We've talked about that before too, steady state cardio versus high intensity cardio and how to implement those into your program as well.
Yeah, if you're doing high intensity, it's good, but I would say maximum, I would do it 1 day a week because think about it. You're
Mhm.
already strength training 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 days a week, and that's going to cause fatigue. The high intensity cardio is going to cause fatigue on your muscular system, on your nervous system,
System.
break down a bunch of carbohydrates that's stored in your muscle in the form of glycogen. So it's taxing on the body. If you do it every day, it's going to negatively impact your strength training, which is probably the most important thing in anyone's program. So it should be an addition to your program. It shouldn't take away. So you can do high intensity, like Alyssa mentioned. I would probably just do it 1 day of the week. And then the rest of your cardio sessions should be more aerobic. They should be something where you're able to hold a pace for consistent 20, 30, 40 minutes or even more. That's going to help you improve your aerobic base. It's going to help you really build endurance and really help you build a really high quality functioning cardiovascular system. So make sure that you have a balance of both in your program. You're going to see benefits from both, but it should almost be like 80% of the time you're doing aerobic work where it's lower heart rate. And then that 10 to 20% of the time should be more of your high intensity. Like I said, do 1 session a week. You're going to see awesome benefit from that because there are lots of benefits in improving VO2 max, just improving your anaerobic threshold and your anaerobic efficiency. But
Fat loss.
yeah, but doing that all the time, it's going to be too much on your program. So balancing cardio and strength training can always be a little tough. Say that you are training for a race, you're going to do a half marathon or a marathon. Yeah, there's going to be more cardio in your program and probably less strength training.
Mhm.
But we are big advocates that you should always have strength training. You should always have cardio, even if you're trying to gain weight. Those two things should always be in your program. And training in a hybrid style is something that is just going to be good for your overall health, good for your performance-based goals, and is going to be good for reaching your body composition goals as well.
Yeah, and like I said, with that high intensity training, when you're doing it that one time a week, you shouldn't be able to do 10, 15 rounds. Like, you should only be able to do a few rounds if you're exerting the appropriate amount of energy. Like, it should be balls to the wall, whether it's on a bike, whether it's on a rower, whether you're running, whatever it is you're doing, you should be increasing that heart rate and going as fast as you can and then bringing that heart rate back down. So you should not be able to do more than a few rounds on those types of exercises.
So we've talked a lot about training. Let's talk about some nutrition. Let's talk about some recovery and some mistakes that we've made there. And I would say, the first mistake that I've made along the way is not eating enough, not following structure with the diet, and just not understanding that food is fuel. I think a lot of times people, they want to lose body fat and they want to get shredded and they want to build muscle at the same time. And they don't realize that if you constantly starve your body, it's going to be really hard to put on muscle mass, and it's going to be hard to make progression because you're not going to have the energy to come into the gym and work hard and lift heavy and all the things that we've talked about leading up to this point. So eating enough food is a mistake, or not eating enough food is a mistake that I've made, that I see a large amount of our clients that we work with make. And if you can eat enough food for your goals, you can still eat a lot of food and lose body fat. You can still eat a good amount of food and build muscle, as long as you're structuring high quality food and it's eating enough food for your specific metabolism. But eating enough food is going to make a huge difference, and then sticking with that for a certain amount of time. We don't want to hop from workout to workout or diet to diet. We want to focus on progression, and want to focus on letting the diet work, eating enough food, letting the workouts work, and just giving enough time to see the changes that we want to see. So making sure that we're not under eating, because carbs are not bad, fat is not bad, protein is not bad. It's just having the right amount for your own goals, your own metabolism. And if you can find that and stick with it, you're going to see awesome progress. If you hop from diet to diet and you kind of spend a week here, a week there, yeah, you're not going to see the progress that you want. You have to give it time, because it does take time to see body composition changes that we want to see.
Yeah, I think this was a big one for me because in the past, I got so obsessed with food and the scale, and, it was hard to do anything. It was hard to go enjoy dinner with family. It was hard to live your life, essentially. You'd have to cancel plans with friends, family, because you felt like you couldn't eat somewhere, or they didn't have the nutrition of the food on the menu. And so, kind of like a little bit off topic as to eating enough, but becoming so obsessive with food and thinking of it as like, okay, I can only eat this, this, and this, and that's what's going to make me lose weight. I think if I were to go back in time, I would tell myself food is fuel. And if I want to get stronger, if I want to be able to put the effort and the energy into my workouts, I need to think of food as fuel instead of, you know, good food, bad food, can't have this food, and restrict yourself and become so obsessed with food. It's just a healthier mindset to think of food as a fuel source versus, a good and a bad food source, because even to this day, we run into these problems too sometimes, where we start getting into our diets, and you and I were just kind of like being more restrictive with our diets recently, and it does take you back to that obsession and that obsessive state. And the way that we need to think of food is, I'm going to eat this meal, this sweet potato, this chicken breast, and these avocados, and this broccoli and green beans, whatever it is, because I know that I'm going to feel better. This is going to fill me up. This is going to allow me to perform better in the gym, opposed to if I eat this greasy cheeseburger and these French fries, I'm probably going to feel like crap. My stomach's going to hurt. I'm going to be bloated, and I'm not going to be able to perform as well in the gym.
Yeah, it's all about, like you said, fuel. And if you can change your mindset from that, because in the beginning, when you start working out, you're going to see rapid changes, especially if you're following a program. And it becomes this like, I want to achieve this look in a mirror. I want to achieve this weight on a scale. And it becomes very body composition focused
Aesthetic.
or weight focused, very aesthetically focused. Yes, exactly. So if you can change that mentality of like good food, bad food, and really label it as that, you're going to thank yourself down the road,
Yeah.
because it can cause a lot of issues with you emotionally and mentally, and it's something that I think we've both struggled with, so we have a strong opinion about it. So, yeah, looking at food as fuel has really changed the way that we look at food. And I'm not going to say that we're perfect. We still struggle with this. We have body dysmorphia, both of us. It's something that is very real and affects a lot of people. And that's something that I want to caution people with, understanding that, you have to be proud of the progress that you make, and you have to focus on your goals. Don't compare yourself to others, and fuel your body with high quality food. Making sure that you're eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight every day, making sure that you're eating enough high quality carbohydrates, things like potatoes and rice and fruit, and getting enough high quality vegetables in your diet, getting enough healthy fats to where you're going to be able to maintain good hormones and not feel like a zombie all the time. These are principles that are in every one of our clients' programs, but it's something that it really does go a long way to the sustainability and the longevity of our health and fitness goals. This is something that should add to your life. It should not take away from your life. And if you're listening to this podcast, I hope that you're in this for the long haul. I hope you're not somebody that is like trying to do a quick fix of like 30 days. I want to completely change my life and I want to lose 30 pounds and want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's probably not going to happen. But don't overestimate what you can do in 30 days. But I would also say on the flip side, don't underestimate what you can achieve in 6 to 12 months. I mean, you can achieve a lot of progress in that 6 to 12-month range. As long as you're following progression, you're eating enough food, you're focused on getting stronger, you're focused on chasing your own fitness goals. I mean, you can see some awesome, crazy progress, especially if you're new to the gym. Like, it's a time to focus. It's a time to create sustainability and structure. And if you do that, like, you're going to be blown away at the progress that you can achieve by following that structure.
Yeah, I think the key there is to create balance and something that you can build a lifestyle with and fuel your body properly, which then leads us into our last tip, which is going to be to make sure that you're following a program. So, again, with that consistency and being disciplined enough to, follow something, you're going to get the best results versus, when I first got into working out and training, I think I was inspired by, Instagram, YouTube, other people. And I'd go on there and I'd follow what they're doing. And I'd be like, oh, that was a cool workout. I'm going to try that workout today. Go and, find another fitness inspo, try their workout. But there's no structure. There's no routine there. You're never going to see progress if you keep skipping all over the place, trying different programs, trying different workouts, trying different weird exercises that you're like, this is the best way to grow your glutes. No, the best way to grow your glutes is to be consistent, eat enough protein, eat enough food, and do the bread and butter basic movements, squats, deadlifts, lunges, hinge movements, hip thrusts, things like that are what's going to build the glutes. Doing some, weird banded kickback while balancing on something, I don't know, is not the answer.
Yeah. So anyone can create a hard workout.
Yeah.
What we aim to do with our personal training clients, our group fitness clients, our online training clients is to create structure that's going to help you progress. It's going to be a piece of a puzzle. Every workout is a piece of a puzzle that's helping you get one step closer to your goals. So if you are not local and you are interested in working with us online, we do offer online coaching to where we provide custom workouts, meal plan, tailored macros, and provide that accountability piece every week to keep you working towards your goals. So if you are interested in learning more about our online coaching program, we have a link down in the comment section below. You can click on that link, fill out that form, and let's set up a time to chat more about what you're currently doing and how we can help you create the structure that you need to reach the goals that you are looking to achieve.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys on the next episode.